Hello and welcome to the conversation. As always, I am Miguel Covarrubias.
And I am Kathy Covarrubias, and today we're going to be talking about Stranger Things.
So, spoiler warning, although you've had almost a year now to actually watch through Stranger Things, and if you haven't yet, what are you doing? Of course, we're going to be covering, as always, the entire season, and spoiler alert for all of the Stranger Things there.
Yes.
A recap, Stranger Things is a Netflix original series that they had published last summer, 2016, and it was a breakaway summer hit. It was
directed by the
Duffer Brothers.
I think it's the Duffer Brothers. We tried to research how to pronounce their name. Some places say Duffer, some of them say the Duffer Brothers. So we're not entirely sure, so we apologize. We'll just acknowledge that right now. We're not entirely sure.
We also, last week I had talked about story structure and about storytelling methods with their series, The OA. So I was looking for that because I was having a little trouble trying to wrap my head around a unifying theme throughout the entire series.
Yeah, it was kind of difficult. Even with the different stories, like the different characters, you can't really find one.
Yeah, and then thanks to the help from a YouTube video from the New Rockstars, we're going to put a link to them in the description there.
Yeah, we like them a lot. They're pretty interesting. You should check them out.
Yeah, they do a very good job of looking at symbology and storytelling methods, and they did a wonderful job of looking at all of the references in, and as well as the storytelling methods in Stranger Things. So that really helped, and so.
Maybe watch their video on this before we dive in a little bit more to get some background.
If you want to. If not, you can wait till afterwards and see how we did. So, I wanted to have Kathy's take on Joyce here, primarily because as a mother to a son, I thought that it might be a good thing.
Yeah, and I do kind of resonate with Joyce more than the other characters. I mean, she is a mom. I am a mom. The other main characters that we kind of follow along are not mothers. However, she has been a mom longer than I have. I've only been a mom for 9 months. She's been a mom for 17 years? Something like that. I think he's about 17. Yeah. He's older high school. I was just kind of looking through some of her quotes, and one of them kind of stood out to me. She said during, I can't remember which episode, but anyway, she says, maybe I'm a mess. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm out of my mind, but God help me. I'll keep these lights up until the day I die, if I think that there's any chance that Will is still out there. And I think that really speaks to her undying faith as a mom, that her child is still out there, and she feels like she has this connection. And I feel like all parents, not just moms, all parents have some kind of connection with their child, and she still feels that connection. I think a lot of people, when they are looking for a new religion or a new faith, that's the kind of connection that they themselves are looking for, is the connection with this parent.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Sort of.
Because how when we, a lot of people either like or don't like the idea of God the Father. Some people really like that imagery because it gives them comfort, because they have a good relationship with their father. They have a connection with their actual biological father, so it gives them comfort in seeing him as that kind of figure. Other people, however, don't like that imagery at all, because they don't have a very good relationship with their father, so they kind of have trouble understanding why some people like to think of God as the father.
All right.
You see what I'm going with that? So so this is kind of similar to that. Of course, it's a little bit more intense because Joyce and Will and her and Jonathan, like, actually, like, you know, physically live together, and they, like, we know for a fact, like, these are real people, so that's a little bit different. But I just kind of admire her resilience, even though people have been telling her, even her son Jonathan was telling her, you're crazy, like, he's dead, move on. She just was like, no, he's not dead. That's not my son. Like, she knew enough about her son. She had such a connection with her son that when she saw that fake body, she was like, nope, that's not him. Fuck you guys. I'm just sorry. I keep on saying curse words in here. I'm really, 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 really sorry, but this is how I just talk. So it's really hard for me to censor myself. But anyway, so she, I don't know. I just really admire that bond, and I hope that one day that Peter and I also have that same connection, and any other children we may have.
All right. Well, I really wanted to focus on the children throughout the series. We rewatched the series again yesterday to kind of give us some talking points for our podcast today. And I really wanted to stay on the children, and mainly the group of kids of Michael, Dustin, and Lucas. And I think because, honestly, my favorite character is Michael, and that's probably because we share a name. But I really enjoy the fact that the Duffer brothers, whatever their name is,
the brothers,
we'll
just call them the brothers,
the writers, the directors, that they did what a lot of writers do, is they wrote meaning into the names of the kids. With each of the kids, you have...
well, but this is not confirmed. I mean, we're kind of like, we looked at the names and we're like, maybe this is what they were thinking.
Well, yeah, and it really does fit them.
It does.
Because, you know, Michael, as the DM, is the dungeon master. He is, his name is Who is Like God. You know, I think that throughout it, he shows that caring, that genuine interest in people and doing the right thing. Throughout, so and I like to think of God like that, as caring for people, as wanting the right things for people. You have Dustin, who is a mighty warrior. Throughout, he is the one who is the emotional maturity, and really kind of really brings out the bravery of all the other characters.
Yeah,
and I think that it's just beautiful, the way that it's acted, and the way that the character is.
When I think he, unlike the other boys, when he interacts with adults, it's more like he's treating adults like equals. Like, they're not like these like authority figure. Like, he sees them more as like, I can also get something from you besides me just being this little kid.
Yeah. You also have Lucas, who his name means light, and you know, he is very much the light of the group. He's the one that kind of has the ideas, the bright ideas, and I kept thinking of you know, that whole cartoonish, you know, light bulb going on above the character's head.
Yep.
You know, he was kind of that light bulb character, and so I thought that was great.
Well, yeah, and he's also the one that, like, he is brave enough to go by himself to figure out this compass thing, to figure out where this portal really is.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's kind of like he's going to, like a government, like, lockdown area by himself.
Well,
as
he doesn't know that.
Well, no, but I mean, he does notice at one point in time that, you know, what this thing is, and he, like, stays a little bit longer to investigate.
Well, you know, and I think part of that is also he's trying to prove himself right to you know, the rest of his friends and everything else, to show that why he didn't shake Michael's hand and Mike's hand. Also, 11. I looked it up in numerology what 11 meant. That 11 is the number for faith and physics, which I thought, well, that's quite fitting. It really is a good kind of combination of all of that in there, and their story arc is a great one. And in fact, you see with 11, like just like in the OA that very beginning, she kind of starts off as not really talking, as needing this group, and by the
there's
end,
a lot of mystery around her.
Yeah, and by the end, she opens up, and we'll go into this a little bit more in the controversial issues segment, because this is just a theory of mine that may be controversial because it may not be true. But I really think that they share kind of a lot in these things. There's a lot of parallels between these.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, and as we talked about last week, was that in the OA that the sister is actually watching the first episode of Stranger Things.
Yep.
When Jesse comes home from the night session with the OA, so I thought that was a nice callback. And the meta narrative of the entire thing. I was looking for the theme, and I was trying to think of the spiritual significance of the theme throughout this, and I think the names had some significance throughout, but one of the big things is the name that they first call the Upside Down, which they took it from the D&D handbook, which was
Dungeons and Dragons, for you who don't know what D&D stand for.
Yes. Is the Shadow Realm, as they called it, the Shadow Realm, which you can also take that from religious aspects as being hell, or being the tormenting place, the bad place.
Yes.
And as we talked a little bit about in the OA, is that it kind of exists on the same plane.
It mirrors, I would say.
Well, it mirrors, but I mean, it means it occupies the same physical space. It's just the opposite.
Yes. Which is why Will can communicate with his mom through the lights.
Yeah. And I also want to connect it. Here's another nerdy connection, is a nerdy connection to Dragon Age, video game series.
Which is a great game. Sorry, I really love Dragon Age.
in the Dragon Age series, you have this dream world, this dream state, which is called the Fade, which is where they get all of their magic from. Mm-hmm. They get, all of the demons come from the Fade. You see more of this in Inquisition, in the most recent game, because it's they're tearing open the veil between the Fade and the reality of Dragon Age, and I think that is kind of similar to the spirituality theme. There is that the tearing is that there is this kind of veil that kind of protects us from these bad things, that this this ultimate hell, or whatever it is that is the Upside Down. Mm-hmm. And I think that the overwhelming theme through this all is that it has to do with darkness. It has to do with I don't like using the word evil, because I think we've lost the meaning of the word evil. That the evil is ultimately the opposite of good. And so I'm using the term darkness because I like that imagery, that darkness is the absence of light. It is and what they did with light throughout the series, I think that this is very apropos for this.
Oh yeah.
Is that I think the entire thing is about the growing darkness in all of us. And the things that we do to earn our redemption, the things that we do to kind of fight that. You see the bravery in the kids, and each character has their moments of bravery, of fighting back the darkness. With Joyce, it's definitely fighting back the doubt that her son is dead, or that her son is gone. And with Sheriff Hopper, it's with fighting that the darkness of the pain and agony of his
Losing a child,
daughter dying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, going back to the redemption thing, like even 11, who is a child, is like this. She feels so responsible for everything that is going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you could tell it's eating her up. She's trying everything that she can in order to either fix it or to protect her new friends from it. And gosh, like, can you imagine just being a little kid and just having that kind of weight on you? Like, how terrible must that feel?
Yeah, and I mean, the weight of the world on her shoulders. It's definitely and we'll get back to this in the controversial issues part, because there's not a whole lot of controversy in Stranger Things, except for a few things which I'll come back to in that segment, because we have a lot there, and I think it's just things that maybe I'm reading too much into, but. Yeah, I want to come back to the idea of faith in the children, though.
Yeah.
That I think children are really important to any faith, any story, because ultimately that's what it is stories. And I think that's why the modern church has such a problem with membership, with keeping people in their churches, is because so many of them don't rely on the importance of story. They've relied on the importance of solid, concrete fact. And the problem with that is that so many of us were converted as children. And the fact is that unless you're converted as a child, it's very difficult for any religion to convert you as an adult. Mm-hmm. There have been many studies that show that, is because you have a more open and more accepting mind as a child. Yep. Is that you can readily accept things as being real without it having to be factual.
And it's easier for you to just accept the things that adults are telling you, because you just assume, oh, these adults should know more than me, or are obviously smarter than I am, so I'll just go along with it.
And I mean, this was what was really important for the children in the show, was that they had...
Sorry, I just realized we're wearing the same shirt. Yeah. Sorry. Continue.
So what was really important for the children in the show was them kind of taking 11 at her word that the Upside Down existed.
Yeah.
That this shadow realm, this other place, was real. And I mean, if 11 had tried to explain it to any other adult besides the scientists, that really wouldn't have gone over very well.
No, and even then with the scientists, like, the only reason why they know it exists is because they witnessed her, going there. They witnessed her
astral projection or whatever.
Yeah, and they could hear. Oh, same with the OA. Like, how with him he could hear like what they could hear.
Yeah.
The scientists in this one could also hear what 11 was hearing at that same time. Connection.
Well, and children are much more open and receptive to these things. And in fact, in Matthew 18, sorry. I closed that window. Whoops. Sorry about that. Give me just a second.
I will distract you. Look over there. It's a monster out your window.
In Matthew 18, Jesus says, this is, when the disciples are bickering about who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And, Jesus said to them, "Truly I say to you, unless you turn and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever humbles himself like this child, he will be the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Whoever receives one such child in my name receives me. But whoever causes one of these little children to believe in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a great millstone fastened around his neck, to be drowned in the depth of the sea." And, he goes on from there, but it really, I think what Jesus is getting at in this scripture is that kind of openness of children. Is that, they're kind of bickering, they're like, in adult terms, they're thinking of, power. There are people who are better than other people. And when children, they kind of see they just see other people as other people.
Yeah.
And they believe, of the goodness in all people. Like, they don't have that stripped from them until later in life.
They don't become jaded.
Yeah. And I think that's really important to this whole story. And that's part of what I want to take away from this world is that to have faith like these children, like Michael, who just believes Eleven, that he sees the good in her right away. That while Lucas is kind of like, well, she's from the loony bin.
Yeah.
And Dustin's just like, well, she's a person, and Michael just goes straight for the good in her.
Well, I think Dustin is also like the practical one of the group. He's just like, we got to get her like help. We got to get her like to the authorities, to the right people. Like at the very beginning, before they discover all of this, and they're trying to convince Michael to get his mom to like help her.
Yeah,
like he was kind of like instrumental in that.
And throughout the series, and this is something that I took from the new Rockstars video, was that throughout the series that these kids they solved this mystery pretty much on their own. They really kind of solve these deeper scientific problems on their own. They have help by asking the right questions, but it's like even the scientists, the one-dimensional bad scientist people, they don't.
Papa.
They're not asking the right questions. Yeah. The Ted Danson looking guy, and I'm sorry if that's not. If I can't say that.
I know what you're talking about.
It kind of looks like him.
Well, and really, the kids went really far because their storyline doesn't meet up with the adult storyline until like they are being chased by the scientists. Like they're being hunted down by the scientists, and only then is when the adults are like, "Oh no, these kids are like in too deep. We need to go help them out." So I mean, they went really far. They figured out this stuff. Like they figured out a big chunk of what they needed to do without any adult supervision.
Yeah. I also wanted to talk a little bit about the Shadow Realm. This is I'll get into this a little bit more in the controversial issues segment because like I said, we'll talk more about that. But
in just a moment,
is the darkening of a soul to become something like the Demogorgon in this, and I think that it kind of warps people, and I think this kind of is turning out to be an archetype throughout some of our stories. I mean, if you went and saw Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, they talk about the Obscurus, what happens to these kids who kind of suppress their magic and
feel like they have to suppress their magic.
Yeah, and that they become these horribly dark and uncontrollable creatures.
Well, they don't become the creatures. Like
their magic becomes the creature. Yeah. And I think that in essence, that's what. Now, this is maybe part of the controversial issues segment, and that's, I like I said before, that it's not as simple as that, because I don't know what evil spirits are, and I don't know what they kind of. But I would like to think it maybe is tortured souls that those dark souls that really do want to harm other souls, that really want to pull them down with them. And I mean, you saw Will being kind of infected at the end there when he's being brought back, and of course poor Barb was killed by it. And
R.I.P. Barb.
Yeah, we are all Barb.
Should we take a moment of silence for Barb?
Moment of silence for Barb. Thank you, Barb, for your service.
For your service.
All right, so with that being said, let's jump into the controversial issues segment of our broadcast. So what I really wanted to see, and I don't think that this is kind of an intentional theme of the Duffers. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But I see the darkness as kind of a political statement, that it starts growing. it starts growing in this government-run facility, and they open up this darkness. They start playing with things that they can't control, and they don't really understand.
Yeah, and they really have no control over. Like, as scientists, like, you need to have control over your experiments, and they have none.
Yeah, and I think this has a lot of parallels in our world with things like Guantanamo Bay and with torture and with all those other things. That these are dark things. That these are inherently dark because they're not meant to help somebody. They're meant to do harm to another person. And in essence, that's darkness that grows. And that's why I have a problem with the word evil. Is because I think that we assign it to people. Like people say, like Obama is evil or that Trump is evil, and I don't believe that about anybody. I don't think that anybody is purely evil. I think that they have ultimately everybody has good intentions, whether it be for themselves or anything else. That they don't intentionally send out to hurt other people or to harm other people. They just think that some people do, but they're not inherently evil.
Like, they may start off with good intentions, but then it kind of spirals out of control to...
Yeah, they play with things that they don't really understand. And I think that this is ultimately the theme of the entire show is this, darkness that kind of grows, and it's a darkness that grows in everybody. And as much as we kind of let it kind of grow in ourselves or that we fight it back, like each of the characters kind of does. Even Steve, which, by the way, I think Netflix has a problem with guys named Steve. You have it here in Stranger Things, and you have Steve as the bully in the OA, which I kind of thought, really somebody at Netflix has a problem with a guy named Steve. They keep writing him into shows as a bully, as a bad guy. And
mind you, we know Steves, and we know that not all of them are bullies, and not all of them are assholes, so.
Yeah. yeah. And
you're like, I do know.
Well, I'm running through my head every Steve that I know. I'm trying to think of any Steves if they're bad people or not. I don't think I know any bad Steves.
I know Steves that I would not, want to have dinner with.
True.
But that doesn't mean that they're bad.
Yeah.
Sorry if your name is Steve out there. I mean, we love you and we appreciate you. Thank you for listening.
Yeah. I think one of the reason why I was holding off on this until the controversial segment, because like I said, I didn't have a whole lot of things to kind of go into this segment, but
because everybody loves Stranger Things.
Yeah, is the fan theories, and one of the big ones was that 11 is the Demogorgon, and I was interested by this, and I saw some of the things that they were kind of saying about this, but I would like to beg to differ, and this is one of the things that I pulled upon, was that I think that it is the darkening of the soul, and it is a tortured soul that is the Demogorgon, and I would like to think that maybe it's her mom, and I can't remember what her name is, but
we meet her in like one episode.
Yeah, I think it's episode 6. And she's not talking to anybody. She's
I don't think she can talk.
And you can see that she's been really tortured. That she's really been kind of pulled out of reality.
Yeah, for those who can't remember, like she was also under tests, just like 11. Like she was thrown into sensory deprivation tanks and that kind of stuff. So she was kind of going through that same. However, she was pregnant at the time with 11. And then there's this whole big thing about how she really wasn't pregnant and 11's not really her kid. But anyway, we're not going to go into that. We're just going to take her word for it. She was pregnant. Then they took 11 away, and 11 has been experimented on since then. Yeah. And because 11 was taken away, this is when she really broke down, was through the loss of a child, which might be another major theme.
Yeah, and that's why it kind of resonated with Sheriff Hopper there. That's kind of what spurred him on more onto his storyline, was that I lost a child. I don't want to go into that darkness. I'm going to go into the literal darkness.
I'm going to go into it.
To find Will, to kind of confront. And that's why I think that his flashbacks happened when they did, was that he went into the literal darkness. He faced the darkness to kind of pull Will out of the darkness. And, that's kind of, where I went to for this whole, trying to find that theme throughout the entire thing. And so, this one I threw into the controversial issues segment because this is my own personal theory. And, I'm would be surprised if it actually is, but I'm thinking that maybe that Netflix is starting their own cinematic universe. Like, with Marvel, they have the MCU with all the characters kind of...
DC's trying, but failing horribly.
Yeah.
Let me just add that part in there for other controversial topics.
Well, I'm thinking that their psychological, or not psychological, their paranormal thrillers are connected in the same universe. Maybe the OA and Stranger Things are in the same universe. That, granted, Stranger Things is in the 80s. It happens in the 80s. 1983, to be exact. In November of 1983. Everybody keeps saying it's Christmas time. No, it was in November. It was at Thanksgiving time.
That's when the opening credits. That's what it says.
Yes. And the reason why I remember that is because I would have only been 2 months old at the time. 1983 was the year that I was born, so...
Yep, like when we just rewatched it yesterday, so like as soon as it came up, I was like, hey, 1983, that's when you were born. Hey, November, that's the month I was born. So this, we know this for a fact.
So yeah, I would be kind of cool to see that if they're in the same kind of cinematic universe, that if Hap and I can't remember what the other doctor's name was in the OA, that they came out of...
Starts with an E. Wait, no, are you talking about the psychiatrist?
The other doctor that was doing the test.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That if they both came out of this MK Ultra program out of the 80s, that they have this, they know about the other worlds and they're trying to find them through the near-death experiences, and that this is kind of where they got their start, was through this place.
Oh, also too, maybe that episode when Jacob is Jacob, right, with his sister in the OA. No, it's not Jacob.
Jesse.
Yes, Jesse. So when Jesse walks in and his sister's watching Stranger Things, maybe that isn't like Stranger Things as we know it. Maybe that is being played as in like this is like actual events, or this is based on true stories, or it's kind of like one of those like horror movies that you see, like, oh my gosh, the Amityville Horror. All of those ones are like, this is based on true events. I'm doing air quotes for all of you who don't know. Like, true events.
Well, because the Amityville Horror was, the people actually admitted finally that they made it all up.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what, we have enough, there are enough paranormal podcasts out there that they can probably tell us some of the true events that were actual happenings that are... ghosts and spirits and all this other stuff.
Yes, but Amityville, not so much.
Yeah.
But going back to what I'm saying, like, maybe in this cinematic universe, like, that Stranger Things is kind of like the equivalent.
Yeah, no,
like things could have happened, like the Exorcist of like Emily Rose. Like, that one was based on like true events and has a lot more validity to it than Amityville Horror.
Well, stuff. Even the Exorcism was the Exorcist.
The Exorcist, yeah,
was based on a true story as well. So
yeah, obviously they kind of had some liberties.
Yeah.
No one's heads turned. No one crawled backwards down the stairs. But
yeah, no one vomited. Well, maybe they vomited pea soup back on a priest, but
I love pea soup. I do, though. I really love split pea soup. Give me a good split pea ham soup and I will devour it.
Well, then again, she also hasn't seen The Exorcist.
I have not.
That's why she won't.
Because I won't let it ruin split pea soup for me.
Don't ruin split pea soup. Don't watch The Exorcist. For all of you that enjoy the meal replacement thing, Soylent, don't go watch Soylent Green. Because that'll ruin Soylent for you.
It's purple.
So, I wanted to take a few extra minutes in the closing here to actually talk about a few things. And this is my first time doing a commercial for us. And so, bear with me. You can find me, our stuff on Facebook with Honest Faith. I have a few other creative projects that I have going on there. Also, you can find me on Twitter at Real Honest Faith. You can find me on Tumblr. You can find me on email. Please email us. We'd love to hear from you guys if you listen to us.
Yes, any suggestions or
Exactly.
any even about topics or about how we can make this better. We are here for you.
Exactly. And you can find that at
Rewind.
honestfaithconvos@gmail.com. And with that being said, we started a Patreon today. So very first day on there. I'm still kind of thinking about the description and everything else. I've got a very brief one up there. But if you like this, help support us because we do pay a very small amount to be hosted. But
we would like to expand this.
We'd love to expand this. We'd love to broaden our horizons with more people and with further audience. So we can't do it without you guys, and we'd love to do this more because it's really fun. It's honestly a really enjoyable thing to do as a married couple. I think it really helps our relationship, and I think that you supporting us would be great. We haven't come up with any fun rewards.
Excuse me, I have a great reward that may be coming. My suggestion is that you could have a signed autograph picture of our dog Luke. I don't know if you guys want that, but he's pretty terrific. He's scared of everything.
Yeah, he's a very anxious dog.
He's a very anxious dog. He hates stairs.
He knows that we're talking about
He just groaned in the background. I don't know if you heard that, but...
I also, if you gave a little bit more, then maybe we'll have Luke friend you on Facebook. You can be friends with the dog on Facebook. He doesn't really say anything too, out there. So, he'll be a good friend for you. The worst he says sometimes is wolf.
Yep. And then also, too, who knows? We may, mention you in an episode.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, you can find us on Patreon. It's patreon.com/honestfaith. Or you can just go find us on Patreon by searching Honest Faith and should find us on there. And any gift would help. And so thank you so much for thinking about that or even taking the time now to listen to us talk about it. Because we
hate self-promotion.
Yeah. I'm not big on self-promotion. That's why when I started doing all these creative projects, Kathy was telling me that I need to be better about that. I really need to get out there and kind of say to people, hey, come watch my show or come listen to my whatever or come read my blog, all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I'm not that type of person. I don't like doing this.
And then there's me. I'm shoving it down your throats. I'm like us, just like us.
Yeah. So, join the conversation. And we got to go because we're eating a sandwich.